Your next project gives you the opportunity to present an argument, to be persuasive, and to convince your audience to agree with you. We've been talking about the novel To Kill a Mockingbird, and it introduces some really interesting themes. So for this task, you're going to make a video where you present an argument related to some theme or some idea that comes out of To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, you need to choose a topic that's really interesting, something contentious. That means there's different contentions related to it. It means it's something that people won't all agree on. So you need to choose an interesting and contentious topic, and then you need to present an argument, a contention that is interesting and contentious, something that you can be passionate about, something that you find interesting or fun to talk about and discuss. Then, after you've made your video, we'll put it onto a website called Flipgrid, which means the rest of the class will be able to see your video, and they'll be able to respond to your video, and they will challenge your argument. They'll ask questions or disagree with some point, and you will then need to reply to their response, supporting and defending your argument. So that's the project. You can see there's sort of 3 steps: making your video, where you present a persuasive argument, responding to each other's arguments, and then finally replying to those responses to defend your argument. And we can have some fun with this. Since you're making videos, since you're being persuasive, you can be really creative and really compelling in what you say. So that's the task in a nutshell. Let me go through some of the details. So you can see here on Schoology, I've got for you all the details related to this assignment. So your task is to present a 2 to 3 minute video presentation arguing in favor of or against a topic of your choice. Now notice 2 to 3 minutes. So once again, I'm getting you to be really concise. You're going to have to really think about what you can present in such a limited amount of time. You need to make your video, and as I said, upload it to Flipgrid, and I've got a link there, and I'll give you more information about how to use Flipgrid in the near future. But just quickly, it lets you make videos where you're just talking to the camera, like I was doing at the start of this video, in which case you'd need to make sure you are speaking and using body language and making eye contact with the camera and doing all those good presentation skills. But you can also go a lot further than that. You can make a video in a different app or something and upload it to Flipgrid. And that way you can incorporate other elements of multimedia, kind of like I'm doing now. I'm sharing my screen and my voice and my face to create a hopefully more interesting video. So I'll talk more about Flipgrid in some later lessons, but that's just a little introduction. In your video, you need to be persuasive. You need to persuade your audience to agree with your point of view. And that's really the heart of this assignment, is to be persuasive, to present an argument that's compelling and interesting and convinces other people to agree with you. Then, as I said, other students will respond to your argument, and then you need to defend or elaborate or explain your point of view further. So that's really forcing you to show that you have thought through your issue, you've thought through the counter arguments, and you have a robust, complete case to present. I've got some ideas here of some provocative topics, some contentious topics that not everyone would agree with. You can choose one of these, or you can come up with your own, run it by me, and I'll approve it. Lots of good ones here. I really like this first one personally. If I was a student, that's why I put it first. If I was a student, that's the one I'd pick, but of course you don't need to do the one I'd do. But let's just think about that one for a minute. Bob Ewell is a victim. Bob Ewell is a racist, drunk, violent. He attempts to murder children. He falsely accuses the weakest members of society. It's implied he commits incest against his daughter. He is a vile, vile human being. Can you also make the argument that he's a victim? Some people won't agree with that. Some people would think you can't make that claim, but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it interesting, to try and build a case to say, no, he's all those things. He's also a victim, and to present a strong argument for that. So that's the sort of topic that you want to choose, something where people won't all agree, where it's controversial, but you can make a strong argument for it. You can read through some of these other topics here. I've just noticed I had a double up because I missed one and added it yesterday, but that's all right. You can read through those topics, or as I said, you can choose a different topic. It needs to connect in some way to the novel or the themes of the novel, but be creative with that. Now, I've got some more notes here to give you some more advice about it. The first is be persuasive. You will need to present your ideas clearly and concisely. You don't have very long to speak. You've only got 2 or 3 minutes. So you really need 1 or 2 main points to support your argument, and you need to explain them clearly through your video. You need a clear voice. You need to maintain eye contact. You need to speak confidently. And I haven't really said here, but you can also incorporate additional elements, multimedia elements, sound, visuals, some text, not too much text, to make your argument stronger and more persuasive. You need to be passionate. You need to speak like you believe it, like you care about this. And that is one way to be persuasive. It's important to produce a fully formed argument in only 2 or 3 minutes. I'll give you some directions and pointers on how to do that in some upcoming lessons. One thing though is you definitely need supporting evidence. You need to use a range of evidence from the novel. You could have quotes, character references, themes, or events from the novel to support your argument, but also go beyond this, go beyond the novel. Get evidence from other places, from the real world. The stronger your evidence, the more interesting and varied your evidence, the stronger your argument will be. However, you also can't go overboard. You've only got 2 or 3 minutes, so you need to think broadly about the evidence you have at your disposal and then choose the best bits to present that strong argument. Next, I've said it's not enough to just present your argument from one side. You need to really deeply understand your argument. Other students will critique your argument. As I've said before, they will make video responses, replies to your argument, challenging it, and you need to be prepared to defend it. This means you need to evaluate other perspectives and think deeply about the issue. We can all sound convincing when no one gets to argue back against us. It's when your argument's challenged and you can still defend it and still support it effectively, that's when your argument gains strength. So that's a really interesting element, I think, of this assignment. Okay, so in summary, there's 3 things you need to do to complete this assignment. First, you need to make your 2 or 3 minute video. Next, you need to respond thoughtfully to 3 other students to challenge their argument. So I've mandated that, and again, I'll give a bit more direction, but you need to make at least 3 video responses to other people's arguments. And they need to be spread around so that each person has 2, 3, maybe 4 points that they get to respond to. Again, more details on that to come. And finally, you need to respond to those responses. So you need to address those challenges to your own argument. You need to defend your argument. So they're the 3 components of this task. It's pretty hard to read here, but we've got the criteria here. I'll just wonder how far I can zoom in. Let's see. Still a bit hard to read. You can view it on Sector. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause for a moment, and we're back. So here's the criteria on Sector, so that you can review it more closely. There's 5 criteria that I'm marking on for this task. The first is the construction of the argument itself. So if we go up to the excelling level, the student presents a thoughtful contention and supports it with compelling arguments. They draw on a range of effective techniques to be persuasive. Okay, so I'm looking for deep, rich, interesting, persuasive arguments there. The next one down is about the actual content of the argument. So the evidence that you use. The student demonstrates insight into the characters, events, and themes of the novel by drawing connections between the argument, other sources, and the novel. It is evident that they have researched thoroughly and understand the topic deeply. So I want to see that you've really thought this through. You've read a lot. You've drawn on a whole bunch of evidence to support your argument. You're drawing insightful connections between the novel and other ideas. You also need to demonstrate that you really understand your position, and for that I'm looking at how you defend it. When other people challenge your argument, how well can you defend your argument to respond to them? And then the last 2 criteria here both relate to, and I'll just move it up a little bit, These both relate to the actual presentation skills. So you can see it's got the heading here, presentation skills. So verbal expression. Because this is a video, it makes it a bit hard for me to give really specific criteria because there's a whole bunch of ways you can address it. However, I'm expecting to see your voice, or to hear your voice, see your voice. I'm expecting to hear your voice, and that your voice, to be excelling, will be highly expressive, deliberately controlled to have maximum impact. So sometimes that will mean talking really fast. Sometimes it might mean slowing right down. You'll vary your volume, the pace, the pitch. You'll think about what words to emphasize, the tone of your voice. Are you angry in this moment? Are you excited and you're really trying to make other people feel excited too? You need to control your voice to have maximum impact for the argument you are trying to make and the specific point you're trying to make. And then the last one here is the creative use of presentation conventions. Now, this can include things like body language. You can see I wave my arms all around. I move my head a bit too much, I've noticed as well in my videos, but anyway. So how are you deliberately using things like body language, using multimedia? Are you going to incorporate some sound effects, music, some images, maybe some very short video clips? You can be so creative here, and you guys probably consume a lot more media than I do, being, you know, the generation you are and having access to YouTube and all those sorts of things. You need to be creative, but not just creative. You need to be deliberate in how you construct the video to form your argument. So don't get carried away just being creative for creativity's sake. You actually need to think, what elements, what multimedia, what body language, what control of my voice, what editing techniques are going to present my argument most effectively. And that's really key. So don't forget that. I'm going to pause again and go through the last thing for this lesson. Okay, so for this specific lesson, you need to work through this process. The first thing is to choose a topic that you are interested in. I've given you a list that you could draw on, but you're also able to make up your own and share it with me here. If you want to try and share it with me before you make any more progress, then you can put it as a comment or use Google Chat with me or something like that. But make sure you run it by me before you go too far, because if I say, no, that's no good, and you have to redo some work, I'll feel guilty and you'll regret it. So first thing, choose a topic that you genuinely find interesting. Then brainstorm ideas related to the topic. This can be lots of different things. You might be like, oh, I could argue this. Oh, actually, I could make that point. Oh, here's some really good evidence. Here's some stuff from the novel. There's that real world event that I could talk about. Hey, that thing that happened to me, that personal bit of personal experience, I can draw on that as well. Get down as much as you possibly can in your brainstorm. And this is the point where you stop and you look at your brainstorm and you look at your argument, the topic you've chosen, and you think, do I really like this? So stop and think for a moment. Do I actually like this? Do I actually want to keep going with this idea and present this argument? If the answer is no, then go back and do steps 1 and 2 again. Okay, repeat steps 1 and 2 if necessary. Once you've got a topic you're happy with, once you've yeah, I've got lots I could say about this, then you say, okay, lock it in. This is my idea. In that case, it's time to state your contention. Now, as always, your contention is your one-sentence summary of your entire argument. And remember, for this particular case, it needs to be contentious. That is, it needs to be an interesting or surprising argument that other people are likely to disagree with. If it's just obvious, if everyone's going to agree with you, then it's not suitable for this particular task. So make sure you've got an interesting, contentious argument related to your topic. Once you've done all that, it's time to submit. So I want to know, what topic have you chosen? I want to know what, I want to see your brainstorm. I want to see the range of ideas that you've got. You might do it as like a concept map, could be a list, whatever you want. I like visual things, but that's all right. However you want to do it. I want to see all those range of ideas. And finally, what is your contention? What is your single argument in response to the topic? You can also, so I wanted to see those 3 things submitted. And if you'd like, this is also a chance to ask some questions before making any more progress. If you have questions, I'd actually rather you posted them as a comment here. That way, most questions other students are going to want to know the answer to as well. And then I can share my answer with you and them. If it's something really specific or, somewhat personal, then you can put it as part of your submission, but generally I'd like it as a comment. All right, that's it, guys. That was a long video, I think, but I wanted to give you the big picture overview of the assignment and run through what you need to do for this lesson. I hope that makes it clear, and I hope you're excited to be creative and present an interesting argument, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.